It's time to rock and roll!
Well, I'm doing okay. I'm dealing with crushing depression that's almost debilitating, but aside from that, I'm okay.
Oh, okay, no, I think there's something in the air right now because it's like I've been
It's
having
Fernando.
maybe I've been having a great time. I've had nothing but a great
You
summer,
gotta,
especially.
you gotta laugh at
But
your jokes.
but there's
You gotta laugh at
something
your own jokes.
I do sometimes.
Did you
I
get my
missed
joke?
I missed it. I missed it. I'm
Oh
sorry.
no, because you said there's something in the air, and I was like, Fernando.
Oh,
There
I
was
should have
something
gotten
in
that
the
because I'm a
air
big
that
Mamma Mia
night.
head. Fuck. Oh,
Okay, one day I'll
so
watch that movie.
it's the first one's okay. The second one's really where it's at. Real
Oh,
Mamma Mia
okay.
heads know this.
Isn't that the one where it came out like a decade or two after?
And it's about her having a baby,
Oh, good for
and
her, I
it's
guess.
they flash back to the mom, and when she meets the three potential dads, right?
Hmm.
It's so fun and it's so good and sweet, and it's like I just start you start crying. You're like, why the fuck am I crying in Mamma Mia too? Like it's so good. The first one you watch, everyone gets wine drunk. The second one you can also get wine drunk, but it is just a good movie. So
Hmm.
you should everyone should watch Mamma Mia too. Hello, welcome to the Waffle Press movie hangouts. I'm fumbling because it's just a mess. Today's a mess. It's all good, I think. I think it's good. Gene's not here, which is probably why I'm a mess. Um, so my co-host today is my friend Noah Garcia. How are you today?
Hey, I'm good. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm really excited because I would say that you and I are very close, but Gene invited me on the show a long time ago, and I was a little off put by the fact that Gene asked me to be on here before you. But here we are. We're working on our friendship. Everything's okay.
I think I see you every week of my life at this point.
At least a text.
So yeah, so like I feel like
Hmm.
not to quantify something as abstract and emotional and personal as friendship, but if we're going there, if I'm going to categorize it, I feel like the
Hmm.
podcast is one of the least essential parts of my life. I love doing it, and
Hmm.
it's a great way to fucking make people hear my bullshit and just meet other
Hmm.
people. But I feel like because we know each other in the real world, it's never like I've not thought about like, oh, like come hang out with me on the podcast. It's like we
Hmm.
just hang out in the real world. So I don't know. You can't quantify that stuff, I guess.
It's
I'm trying to save my
crazy.
own ass, so I
Mhm.
hope it's
Mhm.
working.
Well, as an American, I demand to quantify things. So I honestly, I didn't really consider us friends until now. So I'm happy that we're friends.
I've known you for 7 years.
Yes, you
Anyways,
have.
is that Manifest Destiny? Is that like Manifest Destiny 2.0? Is that what you're arguing
Mm,
for?
yes, but with different people in charge. Like
That was
I
not the
want,
answer I was
I don't
looking
know.
for. That was bad.
Oh,
We're
I
gonna
want like,
scoot past that. And we're here to talk about Blue Beetle today, but we're also and I mentioned this before, and I didn't give you a rundown or anything
you
of what
never
we're going to
do.
talk about today. Sometimes I do. Gene mostly doesn't. He's like, "You think this looks good?" And I'm like, "Yeah, looks fine." And then I'm like, "Wait." Sometimes I do actually got to look over it again.
Mhm.
But it's usually we run a well-oiled machine here at the Waffle Press. But anyway, so we're also going to talk about like DC TV because that's like all ending. And I
Mhm.
know you were a big fan of it for a while. I was a big fan of it for a
Oh
while.
my gosh.
Um, some stuff worked, some stuff didn't. Stephen Amell is in hot water, rightfully so. We don't have to get into that. Everyone knows what the
Mhm.
fuck's up with that guy. What an idiot. Um, but I guess before we get to Blue Beetle, I want to hear
Mhm.
your thoughts on, I guess, technically the Arrowverse, the DC CW verse. Like,
Mhm.
what do people refer to it as? Because when
It
it started, it was
mhm.
Arrowverse, and now I don't know what it is.
Very much the network and its producers want you to call it like the DC TV, but all the fans call it the Arrowverse. It started with Arrow and it kind of just encompassed the entire like idea of that DC TV era. So it's the Arrowverse.
All right. Well, did you start Arrow at the beginning, or did you hop on later?
I hopped on season two because it's gonna sound really shitty of me, but I saw clips of Katie Lotz as Black Canary, and I was like, "What's happening there?" So I just started watching it.
Elaborate on that.
Well,
What do you mean?
well, you know how like Power Girl has like a giant triangle in her chest. It's a very similar thing where Black Canary had like Like I respect all genders and sexualities. I just want to support women.
Anyways, you horn dog. So
You-
you started watching because of that.
I already regret this.
It's fine. It's fine. These things go off the rails all the time. Don't worry about
Mhm.
it. My
I
cousin
know I've
showed
heard.
me the first season on Netflix, and I
Mhm.
was like, "Hey, this is like pretty good." You know,
Mhm.
like I'm a big action guy, and that's gonna come up in the conversation later too with Blue Beetle. But it was, I was like narratively, it was like, yeah, it's like CW like type like romance stuff, and you can kind of feel them start to like break away from that pretty quickly after
Mhm.
that first season, where they're like, no, we have like a cast of actors that are up to the challenge and stuff like that, and um obviously season two I think is the high mark for a lot of people. I think season five is wildly underappreciated. That show has ebbs and flows. The Flash, the first season of The Flash, I always say is
Mhm.
still, if not the best superhero show ever, it's in the conversation of top three. It still hits.
Mhm.
It would be really stupid to do a movie version of that without any of that cast, and especially just so recently after that show had just ended. Um, what I guess just let's just fucking just jump into a really broad subject, because otherwise we're breaking down like 11 different shows, some that aren't even canonical to each other, and all this comic book bullshit. It's over now. They're all done except for the Superman and Lois show, which I hear is very good. You watch that one?
I haven't had the chance to, but I've heard nothing but wonderful things about it.
Okay. Besides that one, because I intend on watching that. A lot of people have told me to
Oh,
watch it.
for some reason
But
I thought you were talking. I got my brain. I got wire switched. I thought you were talking about My Adventures with Superman.
no, I should have specified. Yeah, I should have specified.
No,
There are other ones. So.
no. Lois and Superman. It's insane because while the CWS like drama is there, um, the production value is just on another level.
It's like 5 million per episode, I think, which is not the CW budget usually. Which I greatly admire. And Noah left. I don't know where he went, so I'm just gonna keep talking. But the Superman show, it looks very good. I'm gonna watch it eventually. And when I even say like the romance and CW stuff, like being kind of like everyone makes fun of it. Everyone's like, oh, it's
Mhm.
very CW. Like everyone kind of pokes fun at Riverdale and stuff. Riverdale, which is intentionally like that. It's not an accident
Mhm.
that it's like that, by the way.
Like it's structured to be that way. I think that's what makes it interesting because they know exactly what they're doing. It's
Yeah,
not some unfortunate byproduct. They know exactly what
yeah. And it's like I think the melodrama is such a wonderful part of superhero stories, especially long ongoing ones. So like I'm cool with them being like, there's that first season episode in The Flash where he's going on a date with Linda Park,
they're doing.
and then he has to like he hasn't been intimate with someone since he's become the Flash, maybe ever. I think the implication is ever, which is very
Hmm.
funny to me. Um, and he starts getting excited, and he starts like vibrating. Like that's like so
Oh my
funny,
god.
you know? Like
Uh
like you wouldn't get that type of joke if they didn't like spend time developing just like characters that aren't that important to the narrative. But I don't know, if I'm watching a TV show, I want to know what the guy behind the counter at the like the 7-Eleven down the street is up to someday.
mhm.
I want episodes about different perspectives and stuff. And I think that was like the better parts of these shows. What is your favorite out of all the CW verse shows, I guess?
Well, I guess strangely enough, the Batwoman show has a special place in my heart just because it's such an odd concoction because there's this weird idea in the early days of the Arrowverse and its accompanying shows where they try to dip their feet half in DC lore and half not, like they wouldn't make references to greater heroes that don't exist yet. But then, as soon as Batwoman came in, it very much became the era where they're just name dropping Wonder Woman with no consequences whatsoever, dropping Robin, no consequences. Oh, Batman existed this whole time. Like, there's even a crossover where Stephen Amell's Green Arrow is like, actually, I was a first vigilante. Batman's not real. It was me, and that was like something that was really funny. But there's just something about Batwoman that has like a weird, special place in my heart. Also, because one of the villains, Alice, is I would say arguably one of the better Arrowverse villains. It's that, and of course, I enjoy all the others, but it's Batwoman and Legends of Tomorrow simply because that show started off so serious, and it just kind of like I don't want to say degraded, but sort of transformed into just what nonsense can we pull off in 40 minutes. And it's like there's an episode where they're puppets, they've done animated things, they've done historical pieces. They pulled off a season where they're in one time period, which is crazy because the appeal of the show is like traveling to different time periods. So it's such a wacky thing. But what about you? What would you say are the highlights of these shows, or favorite episodes, or favorite uh characters, or what's going on there?
Yeah, Legend of Tomorrow, I think, is the show where just like after that first season, everything clicked together. Even if it wasn't always up to it like its previous quality, it was always like the show would never lost sight of like this is what we can do with this show. Other shows have struggled with that constantly throughout their runs. I think season 4 of Arrow people think is like the worst one. I don't agree. I think season 3 is fucking awful. And season 3 is very serious, but season 4 is much more goofy. They're fighting like the bug lady from the Flash. And it's just like it's really frustrating that I think that season's pretty fun, but it is stupid, you know. And Legends never had that problem. The Flash has a lot of problems because it's a show about the Flash, and eventually you're gonna run out of mileage, and you don't have a lot of money. Your cast of supporting characters, they all have to get superpowers to keep. They don't have to, but I think they felt the need to make them all superpowered so they could give them like fight scenes, and then they don't even keep doing that as the show progresses. So all that stuff's frustrating. Legends of Tomorrow is only frustrating because it got canceled after they finally introduced Booster Gold, which is maybe very fitting for Booster Gold to show up and like actually you're done. The show's over now. Yeah, and then some seasons of Supergirl, which I haven't finished, but season 1 and 4 I think are wonderful seasons of television. Especially 4. Season 4 is like fucking like wow, maybe the most political of all the CW shows like ever. It's very clearly like, oh yeah, like hate mongering is like a real problem, but also it's people with money and positions of power who are using that for their own like capital and gain. And it's like this is wildly mature storytelling for the season before where there's like space magic witches and stuff, you know, like it was really impressive with that.
And it's just the thing that you have to do with these heroes is because their powers are just such a big aspect. You have to tackle them in different ways. So attacking Kara and her relationship to the planet is just so interesting because you just made her your Superman stand-in. So you got to play with that the way you would play with Superman. And you know, she and her cousin are undocumented immigrants. They're aliens. They're here. What does that mean? And the whole reflection they do with actual aliens being on planet Earth, finding refuge, and like humans combating that. It's just very interesting. And I think season 4 is also my favorite. So it's just a crazy thing to see that what they can pull off and what missed opportunities are there and what they don't. And it's just a wild era of television. And as a DC fan, really.
Yeah, I think this is why I really wanted to talk to you about it. Like we've been putting off for a little bit because I was on vacation, and then I came back, and then I was like, well, Gene and I wanted to figure out what to do next first, and then but we were insistent on getting you on. Gene
Thank
obviously
you.
couldn't make it today. You're welcome, and hope Gene gets well soon.
Because he died.
Because he died, yes.
He's dead.
If he actually dies, and then this goes
I'm gonna
up,
I'm
I
gonna
would
kill
feel
myself.
so
I'll kill
miserable.
myself.
I won't do that.
I will.
Don't do
I gotta
that.
join him.
Please don't.
One of us.
But no, none of us, ideally.
One of us.
But
I will let the weather take me.
I wanted to talk about the Arrowverse, CWverse stuff just because it is like the end of an era. Like you don't even have to like any of the shows, but it is a part of like TV history now. And I think as we're seeing the movie versions of superhero stuff kind of come to their own end of an era, and I'm betting the production companies and the money bags and the producers, they're all gonna realize that a little bit too late. It's just I think it's important to look back on, at least acknowledge, like even barring like our subjective views of the quality of it. Like I wonder why like it took off because like my godfather, I was visiting him the other weekend, and lo and behold, he's watching Arrow on Netflix for the first time, and he really likes it. It's like these things still hit. So I'm like, I just wonder like what that is. I don't have an answer. I'm not even really looking for one, but it's just something I'm thinking about, I guess.
It's such a crazy era because there was a time, I think there was a promo about it. There was a time where there was a different show every night. It was like Supergirl Monday, Tuesday Flash, Wednesday Arrow, Thursday Legends, Friday Black Lightning. like a show every weekday, and that's just an insane thing to think about.
Yeah.
And they had like promos that like, "Oh, suit up tonight, a Supergirl, suit up with the Arrowcast," as Stephen Amell hates protesting or whatever they're talking about. And so it was such an insane era. So I think, like you were saying, whether or not you like or enjoy what came out of it, just taking like a retrospective glance at all of that and how it came to be, it's just really interesting.
Yeah, and like obviously there's a lot of like stuff behind the scenes that, you know, Andrew Kreisberg, who got removed from the shows because he was a little bit of a pest, to say the least. I think you have to say allegedly, legally, or whatever the fuck, but he was a pest. And you know, it's like these working conditions on these shows, like they're fucking brutal hours. They're 22, 23 episode seasons, a lot of them. And then the crossovers, which I heard were just fucking like degrading almost to make, even though they're a lot of fun, and I think maybe people are proud of them. I really love Crisis on Earth X. I think that's the best one.
Aside from one or two glaring issues, I really do feel like Crisis is their best crossover.
Yeah, yeah. And then the Justice League movie just came out that same year, and it was like, you know, they kind of just did it better.
People are like,
on
if you want a real
TV.
Justice League movie, go to the TV. Like
A
that's where
little
you get your
bit.
Justice League.
Yeah. But anyways, I'm just bringing that up because it's like, you know, nothing was perfect, and I would never say it was perfect, but you know, just thanks to everyone involved. A lot of fun. Don't scab and maybe support your unions, but that's neither here nor there now. For that person, maybe they themselves will no longer be part of the union. I don't know.
Well, hopefully
I'm
by
not
the
in charge.
time this airs and drops, the studios will be like, "Oh, you guys are right," and they'll disagree at everything. So fingers crossed on that.
Hey, and like not to talk shop, but I think it's like an open secret that at least not every studio is like holding out. They're just like, hey, let's get it together, guys. Like it's just fucking it's more feasible to pay them now. Like, let's go.
I mean, Mr.
There's
Gunn
certain
and
studio heads that are fucking very obviously not okay with that. Bob Iger, whose name I just said for no particular reason, you fuck. But whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm optimistic.
We're optimistic. I mean, Mr. Gunn, if you're listening, you and your friend, if you get them on board, everyone will love you.
Yeah.
Just saying, I feel like James Gunn wants to be loved, so there you go.
Yeah. I have questions about that because his brother's on the picket lines. I'm curious, like, this is just I again not suggesting it. I genuinely have no fucking idea about any of this. I'm literally just curious. So if someone has like answers legally or whatever, like, please let me know, because he's in both Writers and Directors Guild, I believe. DGA did not go on strike. WGA obviously on strike. SAG's on strike. And Gunn has acted in stuff, so I don't know if he's SAG qualified, but he's acted, so maybe he is in SAG too. And he's not said a thing about the strikes, as far as I know. Maybe I missed the one tweet, but I'm wondering if there's some legal shit where it's like, well, now as you're the head of the studio, you cannot do certain like X, Y, and Z.
Yeah,
I don't know.
There's certain
specifics of
protests
that,
and stuff you cannot participate in because you represent like the wider company, or I'm sure some legalese that is stopping him, or who knows. Honestly, who knows? It's above my pay grade, to be sure.
Yeah, and it's definitely above mine. But you know what's not above my pay grade is to start talking about Blue Beetle. Unless you have any thoughts about the CW verse, like just want to.
Okay. If you have to watch one thing from the CW Arrowverse, watch Stargirl.
That's the one? I haven't seen that one yet. Okay.
It's so good. It's so good. I've made several TikToks about it. It's so good. It's so fun. But
oh yeah, everyone follow Noah on TikTok.
Oh, we'll plug all that later.
I'll link it down below. It's fine. It's fine.
But yes,
Blue
Beetle, baby. I'm excited. I've been excited to talk about this one for a hot minute.
All right, with the character of Blue Beetle, the Jaime Reyes version specifically, because this is the New 52, right? That's the official start of the character. Am I fucking this up?
He actually started off in Infinite Crisis during like the 1 year later type of thing during 52. And it was a thing where the Scarab latched onto him, went into space to do Justice League stuff, and then he came back and he had to get his life together. And it was a very interesting time.
Yeah,
because I think Ted Cord was dead at the time.
Well, is anyone really dead in this fucking things?
No. as we found by the movie, spoilers, we're gonna talk about so many things, but nobody ever stays dead. Nobody's actually gone.
Yeah, no one's ever really gone. I know people make fun of that Last Jedi quote, but it's very beautiful and good in that movie, and it's better than everything that came after. So whatever. Yeah, Blue Beetle. Why were you excited, Noah?
Well, I was excited mainly because I knew Blue Beetle Jaime Reyes from two places. That is the Young Justice cartoon, in which season 2 really focuses on him and his powers and his relation to the Reach. And then, secondly, from Teen Titans, he was a member of the Teen Titans for a good like 20 to 40 issues. He was during the era where I think Jeff Johns was done writing Titans, and I think Cassie Sands Mark Wonder Girl was leading the team, and it was a very odd like cast. It was like Static and Blue Beetle and Kid Devil and Ravenger, Rose Wilson and Cassie, and it was such a strange team, and it was just an interesting time, and I just really enjoyed him. And then when I heard the movie was coming out, I was really excited because it was part of the slate when I feel like the HBO Max, whatever it was called at the time, where the idea of it was so big. You know, they were announcing, oh, we're doing this movie, we're doing this movie. Like they plan a bunch of movies and like, oh, exclusively for the app. Like you can't see it anywhere else. And then slowly, as that started to fall apart and blow away into a production hell or just get deleted, I think a lot of us were like, oh, what about these mini projects? What about Black Canary? What about this? What about that? And then, I was worried that Blue Beetle was going to be left behind, but yeah, I mean, the fandom really pushed for it. They must have had some confidence behind what was going on with the production and the ideas, and they just kept pushing it out. And I'm really happy it was made. But what do you feel? Why were you excited about Beetle? Is this your first time with the character? Because I know you have seen Young Justice.
Yeah, I've seen Young Justice, and I have like passing knowledge of his introduction in the comics. I've always liked the character. And I think the really special thing about this character, because Spider-Man was sort of the young adult superhero for a while, and now that's like a problem because Peter Parker just isn't allowed to do anything anymore, and that's why everyone's like, oh, Miles got all this new stuff because they haven't done anything with him before, so it's exciting and new. So it's like Peter Parker's in a cage, like let me out. And then eventually you get Kamala Khan, who's like another great young superhero, and it'd be really weird if they killed her off in a story that wasn't her own or whatever in the comics industry, just to reboot her so she can fit more with her cinematic vision. But whatever.
We can't talk about that. I'll be stuck all day.
No, I use this podcast to vent also about fucking bullshit, but whatever. Jaime Reyes is a great character, super fun, and I think he's the first guy to really capture that, like, oh, this is the next Spider-Man. This is the next character who's going to fit that mold, who's going to capture that vibe, and it's going to be a gateway to new readers to explore our established cinematic or established comic book universe. And I want to read out some tweets from my other co-host in the retrospective, Matt Garingo, because I thought they were very pointed. And he asked, why does it feel like Jaime Reyes' Blue Beetle is always set up to fail? His first run was designed to be an entry-level comic for new readers, except his origin was directly tied into Infinite Crisis, a crossover event you need almost 2 decades of DC history to understand. Not to mention, the origins directly tie into the death of Ted Kord Blue Beetle, who triggered the events of Infinite Crisis by getting shot in the face. A character who, with an incredibly passionate cult fan base, was basically well-liked by all and had a controversial death. Then they try to relaunch him with New 52. This is where I messed up. And then when that failed, they threw him onto the already floundering, like 700th attempt to reboot Teen Titans. He's on Young Justice, right before that season where it gets canceled initially. And he only pops up in season 3 and 4, huh? He doesn't really get a lot of time in those anymore.
Yeah, he shows up with the Outsiders team, and they do a couple stuff.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And that to show it's not a mistake on the show's part. The beauty of that show is like it's Young Justice, it's about everyone, so everyone kind of gets the time to shine.
They focus on so many different people.
Yeah, I mean, there's still people criticizing like, well, Nightwing's not really the focus anymore, and it's like fucking so.
It's an ensemble, baby.
Yeah. Fucking whatever. But yeah, Jaime Reyes Blue Beetle's kind of he's had a rougher reputation than the character deserves, I think. For the movie, I wasn't that excited. Everyone knows I'm kind of tapped out of this shit already. However, I am Mexican, and I'll take the rep where I can get it, even if I don't like it, like Encanto. I'm not a big fan of that movie, but it's like, hey, it's a mediocre movie made by our people. Like it should be allowed to be mediocre because I've seen 50 mediocre white people movies this year. That should be okay too. The one thing that did really excite me about Blue Beetle was when I heard
George Lopez.
no, I like George Lopez, yeah. But the action and second unit director, JJ Perry, was on board, and he's this great martial artist stunt guy who's gotten the time to shine recently. He just directed Day Shift on Netflix, which is pretty good, but the action's super fucking fun. And I'm happy to say he delivered with the Blue Beetle movie. I think the action in this is some of the most fun, inventive, consistently engaging, with one or two notes, like out of all these superhero stuff in a long time, like at least on this scale, because it's a much smaller scale movie. But Noah, I will ask you first, what are your thoughts on having seen Blue Beetle finally?
I think my opening thoughts are simply that this movie, structurally wise, when we're looking at story and I feel pacing and just the elements of Blue Beetle, uh, a lot of that structure is very stereotypical. A lot of it is very cookie cutter by the numbers. You know, young hero comes into their own, learns to value something over something negative. What makes this movie really special is very much the characters, very much the atmosphere, very much the culture displayed. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a movie that had both like La Chona and Sabor Me in like the soundtrack.
Yeah.
And there's such vibrance and joy. Like everyone seems excited to be there. The acting is really well done, even those that aren't given too much to work with. And it's just, the bones are what you would expect, but it's like the flavor, like the spice of it is just really good. And I really enjoyed that. And I really like what you said about the action. I don't want to talk shit about Transformers, but I'm simply bringing it up because it's the last movie I saw. Like the action from Transformers, where the camera was moving everywhere and things are just so dirty and it's hard to like take a look at what's happening.
Are you talking
Comparing,
about the Beast Wars one?
yeah,
Whichever one that
Beast
came out
Wars,
this
the
year?
latest, the Beast Wars, the latest Transformers,
Okay.
that one. Comparing that to this, where like we linger on certain shots so we can see the choreography and how people move, and there's clear like intent on where the camera is moving and going, and things are like stable, so you can see how action is like performed, and it's such night and day for me. Like the action was really good. I loved all the, you know, Buster Blader, Cloud Strife, and Kamehameha just randomly shows up in the middle of a fight, and I'm just like, you know what, fucking Jaime Zolo, you're such a fucking nerd. Go off. Why not?
Yeah, I agree. I do agree. I'm trying to. I don't know how long I should hold my opinions back.
Oh no, then we'll cut in and out. You give me all your opinions.
All right. Yeah, I really like this movie a lot.
It's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun. It's got so much heart. There's so much like love and care in the character stuff, which is what totally makes this shine. Like you
Yes,
love that
100%.
family by the end. When they go through it, I was a little shocked at where they went with some of the extent of the emotional stuff. I was like, oh, we're going there.
I genuinely almost cried for a second. I was like, oh, are we actually doing this? What's happening?
So I saw it with some friends of the show because they were like, we got to support this. And I think they knew I'd like it. So I went with them the day before this recording. And there was like, you know, vibing in the seats with the music and stuff like that. Because it's, you know, it's familiar. It's very familiar if you've been to a family party and you're Latino.
Yeah, it's like it was like the soundtrack had like the top 10 songs you hear at like a Mexican pary.
Yeah, but then they gave me some napkins to like for your tears later, and I was like, oh yeah, I don't know about that, and I didn't like cry, but I was like, yeah, this is getting to me a little bit. This is good stuff. Like, it's not like a home run movie, and I'm not saying that to like knock it down a peg, but it's. I think we just used to get better like 4-quadrant blockbusters like this, where it's like, this is a really well made, solid movie. You're gonna get everything you expect out of it, but you're also gonna leave with a little extra. Like you mentioned seasoning, and I think that's the difference, you know. I think Ant-Man and the Wasp is like, I boiled a piece of chicken for you. And then this is like, well, we got fucking, I'm still chopping up the garlic. Like we got the onions over there, a little shallot action. We're mixing this in. We're making some fucking tacos here. And then over in the corner, it's like, but I boiled a piece of chicken. This is not boiled chicken, you know?
I think people are so used to either they're so like divided into camps. Either this is a flop or it's a perfect masterpiece, and people don't allow space or like B rank, or like just enjoyable movies. Like it has to be those extremes.
Yeah,
I feel like this is very much like it's an enjoyable, good middle of the road movie, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Uh, like just to talk a little bit more about like the area it's released, like historically right now. Like I mentioned, the DC stuff. I mean, none of the DC stuff has made money besides the Batman in like since Aquaman came out in
And neither will this
2018.
one.
And this one's not going to make money, which is a bummer because this one you could totally do so much more with it. I would like to. This is going to go on the list of movies. This is maybe a failed blockbuster contender for that a future season. But
I
one
feel
I'm
like in
excited
another
to talk about.
reality, it could have been like another reality. It could have been a huge blockbuster. Like I see McDonald's toys. You know what I mean? Like I see an entirely different world where if this was like a regular promoted like a regular blockbuster and not in the current landscape we're in, like it could have been a totally different playing field.
Yeah, where people are not tired of superhero stuff yet. Like honestly, it's probably a sign of a healthy movie going audience that they're just like rejecting superhero stuff at this point, with like rare exceptions. It is still a bummer because I like this one, but it's like okay, like we're ready to move on. Fucking studios, hey, pay attention. They're ready to move on now. Stop it. Sorry, apologies to James Gunn, who's probably going to make a good Superman movie, but that stuff's not going to work out. And it's just it's a bummer because it's like it feels like all the sort of off the beaten path characters that could maybe be more representative of specific cultures and identities, they're the ones that are kind of getting hung out to dry now. Like I don't like Shang-Chi, but it's like that was a modest hit, but it wasn't like I think that was no one really talked about it, but I think that's one of the few Marvel movies where they started like kind of scratching their head. They're like, used to make $1 billion. Wait, 400 million? No, that's not right. That's not right. That's not okay. And it's like now the message these studios are going to send, even though they're wrong, is that like, oh well, see, those types of movies with those people aren't going to make money. When really it's just people are fucking bored by the whole thing. That's it.
What studios now are going to do or start doing Mattel movies, so get ready for that.
Now, well, those will bomb like immediately, and then they'll stop. I'm not. Everyone's worried about it. It's gonna be annoying, but I'm not stressing.
You're not gonna watch G.I. Joe's meets Transformers when they have John Cena ride on Optimus Prime's back?
No, I will not.
Oh, I'll be there. I know
right.
I will.
Well, go for it. No Bayhem, no Wayhem, people.
And then Margot Robbie comes out of the shadows during a post-credit scene as Barbie.
Oh, I don't think I talked about it on the podcast yet, but I did finally watch Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Oh, what'd you think?
They're great movies. They're great movies. They will both be nominated for Best Director. I'm putting money down on that right now. Nolan will probably win his Best Picture and Best Director with this, and yeah, they're great. But to kind of wind it back to Blue Beetle, I also saw the Meg 2, and I promise this is at least tangentially related, which I liked, and I think people are taking for granted significantly. It's like you got fucking prime B movie here, and everyone's like, it fucking sucks because there's not enough shark in it, and it's like, I don't know, when you get to the point where Jason Statham drop kicks a man into a megalodon's mouth, like, what do you want? What do you want here? And I kind of feel similar to Blue Beetle, where it's like, if you just don't want to watch that kind of movie, like, you're not gonna like the Meg 2. If what I described to you right now is like, like, you don't watch it. Blue Beetle, it's like, it's a coming of age superhero story. Like, if you're like turned off by that, like, you're probably just not gonna respond very well to it. Even though I do think it's like really well made and completely succeeds at what it's going for, like without a doubt in my mind. I think it is a success on its own terms, and even more than its own terms. I think it's just a successful movie in every way except financially. I think I want to mention just a couple quick little negatives because it's not perfect, which is fine.
Oh, I have some negatives too.
Okay, well, do you want to go first? I've been talking for a minute.
Oh, your negatives. Your negatives are probably more nailed down than I. I think there are certain points where the script writing, whether it came to like something like an offhanded joke or some dialogue, sometimes it just irked me the way it was written, which was just, I don't know. I'm not asking for like Shakespeare, but some things are said like so on their face that I'm just like, I get it. Like I understand. Like I think there's a specific one where they're talking about like, oh, and this person gave the company to the son, and then he's just like, oh yeah, that sucks. She's like, yeah, because sexism. And I'm just like, yeah, could you say that like a little more? I'm not saying you don't have to say that, but can you find like a more interesting way of saying it instead of just being so like blasé? Why is your face like that?
Because when you brought that up, you're talking about the Susan Sarandon character, the
Yeah,
villain
is
of
it
the
this? Is
movie.
that what we're talking about? Is
No.
that one of your
So I
gripes?
actually like that character,
Hmm.
and not complicated, but you get enough reasoning for why she is what she is.
Yeah.
I turned over to my friends I was watching it with because she was fucking. It was that scene where Jaime is looking at all the screens. She's talking like to like political leaders or whatever, right?
Hmm.
And it just hit me like a fucking lightning bolt. And I turn over and I ask them, "Is Susan Sarandon playing Hillary Clinton?" Because if you know anything about Susan Sarandon, she's a very, very outspoken left-leaning advocate, and she got a lot of flack for maybe not being a
Oh
fan
my
of
god,
the centrist Democratic Party.
is there a? I'm trying to remember the movie now. Is there a she was in the room joke in that movie? I think there was like
Maybe
I
I
think so.
don't remember off the top of my
I
head, but it's also
uh-huh.
the haircut. The haircut's
Uh-huh.
very specific, so
You're
I'm
blowing my
like, is
mind.
that fucking? Is that what we're doing here? Um, which made me like it more.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I didn't see that.
Yeah, justice for Susan Sarandon. um, people are weird about her online and in the Democratic Party, but whatever. Yeah, that was a negative thing that you were talking about. Go ahead. That was a positive for me, but go ahead. Any other
Yeah,
negatives?
some of the well, just to reiterate, just some of the writing was like so open faced and like, can we do a little, just have a couple lines a little more subtle. Uh, I guess one of the things that the only other thing I can really think as a negative is that I wish we had a bit more time with the character of Jaime because he is constantly surrounded by other characters interacting, and I think I would like a few more solo moments to develop who he is as a person because you can infer lots of things like maybe he watches anime or plays video games based on like how he moves with the beetle and like him eating tacos and enjoying good food, but I wish we had a bit more time with him solo because I love his supporting cast, but he's always surrounded with someone. Like he himself is never really given a chance to breathe until the very end when he has the thing with his dad and that whole moment, which is nice. But I wish we had gotten a few more quieter moments with the character of Jaime. Like, who is Jaime aside from like what we've already seen? So I think those are the only two big things that really come to mind. But I'm sure you have a list because you're a bit more comprehensive to these things than I am.
It's not really a list. It is that
Mhm.
Zolo is a great Jaime Reyes. He's a movie star. Like if
Mhm.
I think if the him and his team and the industry is fucking smart, they'll keep him like front and center and give him other stuff to do. Because unfortunately,
Mhm.
I think this is the last time he's playing Blue Beetle, which is again unfortunate. But he's
I
really good
mean,
and he's really charming.
I've
He's got
heard
a real
great
movie
things
star
about him in
quality,
Cobra Kai. Great things in Cobra Kai about him.
yeah, which I
I've never,
also
I'm,
have to watch.
that's just a crazy thing because I remember when it was a YouTube original,
Yeah,
and then it just slowly made its way to Netflix or whatever. And that's
yeah, it's
crazy.
like the one carryover because it's like
Uh
the
huh.
one show that they gave talent to,
Hmm.
or they gave to talent. Everything else are like, why isn't our Logan Paul movie like a massive hit? And it's like, well, because fucking children watch this shit,
Hmm.
children and racists. Um, but
But yeah,
but
back to
but
your.
okay, so I think Jaime needs a little more fleshing out. I feel
Yeah.
like the narrative has a great momentum. There's a real good sense of pacing. Even from the
Mhm.
start, I thought it was like, oh, we're just like kind of
Oh
going
yeah,
through this.
it moves very well.
And I was really tired when I got to the movie. I was like struggling to keep my eyes open, and it wasn't the movie. Like I was like, I want to see this. I was really tired. I had a long night the night before, and I was like, I'm gonna fucking make it, and I did, and I did. And I didn't have that problem after like the first half hour. That's on me. I think like when he shows up, it's like, okay, he's just graduated from Gotham Law. Something I missed, by the way, until after the movie. My friends explained to me, oh no, he went to Gotham Law. You see the thing on
Like
his
the little
shirt, whatever.
G, the little
Yeah,
patch. Yeah.
and then he mentions it before, and I was like, okay, I remember the lawyer thing. That he studied law, or he's pre-law. So when it gets to the end, and we'll just go into spoilers, by the way. So if you watch it,
Okay.
we both recommend it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, go watch it. It's not going to make any money anyway. So if you're worried about, I don't want to give money
Yeah.
to superhero movies, don't worry. It's not going to
Yeah.
happen here.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't even know what's gonna make its budget.
so which we'll talk about in a second also. But yeah, so like when I noticed the pre-law thing, I was like, okay, so when they defeat the villain, they're like, and Jenny's gonna get her material back, right? Her not material, her company back. She's gonna start running it like quote unquote properly or whatever. Um, Part of me was like, oh, okay, well, clearly they're gonna use his knowledge of like pre-law and law to like find an angle to make sure that this stuff gets sorted out properly. Just something to hand wave away, like a beginning, a middle, and an end of an arc. And it's like, no, that's it's not in there at all. He just saves the day, which is good, and it works in the movie, and it's like emotional and stuff like that. But I was like, oh no, it's just his degree is completely irrelevant, which is maybe the point, because it's like
No, I
that
think
is
that's
a
supposed to be
thing,
a character detail, simply because he doesn't seem like anyone that's interested in law. He never mentions it. He clearly said when he was with his sister, like, "Oh, I thought I would get us out." So he clearly just went to law school for money. That's the only reason he did it. Like, he didn't choose like what interested him. He's like, "I want to make money. I want to support my family, so I'm going to be a lawyer," which a lot of people do because they're like, "I just want to make money here."
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of a quirk criticism of mine. And again, Jaime not really that developed by himself. I like your note about like he doesn't really have anything to do by himself. He's always
Yeah.
with someone, and it's like that's to a certain point totally makes sense because it's an ensemble. The family is just as important as him in the narrative by the end, which I loved. But yeah, it's like you need just something by himself. Just I want to see more of just what him sitting in his feelings in that first half of that movie. The other big criticism is Jenny Cord, who I wasn't sure I was going to vibe with as a character or actress, and then I won over. I thought she did a solid job. That character is also constantly on the go, and so she has the same problem as Jaime. So to the point where their romance, their eventual relationship start is like that feels the most kind of like sweaty and ham-fisted. I buy it because of the actors' chemistry, and I don't think it's like a misfire by any means or something like that. But it's like it is the part of the movie where I'm like, I'm less on solid footing with.
I feel like if I found out that the studio gave them notes to like, oh, can we have a bit of a romance just so we can have, like a couple together in the film, and they added scenes in, I would believe it. She's very Marvel Hope coded.
Oof.
So that's maybe why I was like daughter of like a scientist, and she's like, I can take care of myself. I've had training. Da, da, da. And just like her vibe is a little Hope, which I don't particularly care for because I have whole other reasons about that character. But
Well, the character's
I thought
boring. Like even apart from that actress, that character is boring in those movies, unfortunately.
she's just there to be there.
Yeah, it sucks.
There to be there and there for Scott.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
But yeah, she's fine. I thought she served a purpose. She got some emotional moments. Her relationship with her Victoria Cord just swings wildly, because there's one second where she's like, "Oh yeah, I take care of you. Leave. Oh yeah, you can be my family. Oh, you disagree with me? I'm gonna fucking shoot you." Like it just swings wildly back and forth for whatever needs to happen between them for the story. So I think she's fine. I hope we see Blue Beetle again, but I'm okay if we never see her again. Nothing wrong with that actress. Nothing wrong with that actress. Just give her things to do.
Yeah. Just beef up her role next time.
Do you think the Blue Beetle cast are gonna go into the quantum realm to save her dad?
That is the vibe, because I did stick around for the post-credit scene because we were waiting for a friend at the bathroom anyways, and I was like, I'll just say. Yeah, I'm not super into that, because again, it's like I feel like that kind of narrative linchpin, had this been successful enough to get a sequel, that's not about Jaime. Like I'm interested in Jaime and his family. Like, what are they gonna do? Because such a great thing about this is like my big criticism of superhero stuff is like it's very elitist cinema. Lately, I know people are like, oh, no, it's forever. Fuck off. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And when I say it's elitist, I mean like it's not really about human beings anymore. It's about like people who like enter positions of power, and it's like they lose sight of the humanity of it all. This one, they're gonna lose their house. They don't patch up the holes very well that enter the house because of Jaime's shenanigans.
It's a very personal story. It's not dealing with like world ending. It's a very like personal thing that people can understand.
Yeah,
because you see like destroy the world. Oh yeah, that's a scary concept. Losing my fucking house, that could happen to me.
Yeah, it's a working class narrative. It's the the ordinary coming up against the extraordinary, which is like, I think, an angle that is often very lost with bigger budget movies now. I think that's why stuff like horror is very successful, because that's really easy to capture that on a smaller budget level. And people like feeling like they're caught up in something really special, whether it's good or bad, at least narratively in fiction, not so much real life. This hurricane in LA at the moment, that's a little strange to us, and not in a good way. But
I do
like,
have a
that's
pitch.
okay. Yeah, go
You're
for it.
done. Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I was
No, fuck
waiting.
it, whatever. We do that here.
Here's my pitch. Here's my
Yeah.
pitch. Okay, we do a show. But I just pretend I control James Gunn. Okay, we're doing two where it's a lot of focus on Jaime, the Reach, and his relationship to the Scarab. So it's gonna be second movie. We're gonna do a show. Victoria Cord looking for her dad. He's not lost in some fucking dimension. He's with Booster Gold, lost in time. That's what we're doing.
Oh,
We're
okay.
lost in time, baby. It's a Legends fucking ripoff. We're gonna do that shit. And you know what? Fucking bringing Justice League, International Justice League was with them. They're all fucking lost. You run into fire in fucking Salem, 18 something. You grab ice somewhere else. Dr. Light. We start grabbing everybody, and then you finally get Booster Gold at the end. Not at the end. Maybe he comes to Victoria Court. He's like, "Hey, I'm your dad's boyfriend. I got him lost in time. Sorry." And then they just travel through time and pick him up. And they pick up the entire thing. Because I like the idea that because Marvel spent years introducing singular characters, and because of that, a lot of Marvel to me just feels so isolated and lonely. But I mean, with Superman and like the millions of characters they're introducing, Hawkgirl, Terrific, whatever, I like that because they're not taking the time to introduce. They're just like, hey, this world is already full of heroes. We're not gonna spend hours introducing one person. We're gonna bring an ensemble and ease you into these characters. And I think they should do that with Justice League International. Just they all exist. Everyone exists. You don't have to worry about fucking 10 years of like 20 characters. You know what I mean?
I
Fill out
get
that
what you're
world.
saying with that. I like that in like a TV show. I think for a
That's
movie,
why I'm pitching my TV show.
yeah, for a movie, I definitely have qualms with it. Like, it is just the way things are right now, and I think it's fucking backfiring because everyone was like, "Which Batman's in the Flash?" You know.
Oh,
And then like, I trust James Gunn to make it work. I really do. Everyone knows how much I fucking love Guardians 3 at this point. It's not something I'm looking forward to seeing in that movie though. Although they even have like a great actor I really love and very fans know as well, Anthony Carrigan as who is he? Fucking not Metamorpho. Who's the guy with all the shit? It's gonna bother me. Hang on.
Plastic Man or
no.
Elongated Man? What do you mean all this shit?
Metamorpho. I was right.
Metamorpho. I love Metamorpho.
Yeah. And it's like, I could
Shout
just
out Young
see,
Justice again.
yeah, Young Justice. Yeah, Young Justice. Go watch Young Justice.
Oh, and Batman Brave and the Bold. He's in that too.
Oh yeah. I'm not as familiar with that one, but I know of that. But yeah, like I want more Blue Beetle stuff where it's just about the family and him, and I'm cool with not crossing him over. So he can cross over in other stuff. I don't want other people in his movies. I mean, I'm getting flashbacks to Wonder Woman and Shazam too.
Oh my god,
hilarious!
Gal Gadot just doing like 7 years of cameos.
Yep.
You know what?
I mean, her last movie bombed, so everyone's like, "No, you don't get another movie. You can just show up in other people's movies." And you know what? Now I have another question because like James Gunn's Suicide Squad, critically received very well. Most audiences really liked it. I like it still a lot. It's not. It doesn't have a special place in my heart, but it's clearly a well-made movie, right? Huge financial bomb. Huge. Gets the DC universe keys. I don't care. I like that. Whatever. I like James Gunn. I'm not upset about that. But Blue Beetle probably be a bomb. Not that big of a bomb. Probably be a bomb. I'm just saying, if you're gonna carry anything else over, I wouldn't be upset if this was another one that he carried over along with like Peacemaker and all that stuff. So.
I'm very conflicted on the idea of carrying things over because I am very intrigued and attracted to the idea of just starting with a clean slate. Because there are plenty of actors I would love to see return, like Viola Davis and Margot Robbie, John Cena. Like, I would love for all of them. Journey Smollett, I know I said her name wrong, but Black Canary. I'd love for many of them to return, but I'm just really attracted to just like a clean slate. Because if they bring a couple people, then the fandom is going to be like, well, how come they get to stay? Your wife gets to be in the movie. Why don't we have fucking Henry Cavill? You know what I mean? Like, it'll never stop.
Yeah, no, not
We
because
just
of that reason you just mentioned. And I know you're not saying that's why you feel that too.
no, I'm
But like
not.
we
I'm not.
I think we both agree like a clean slate would be more ideal.
Mhm.
Like even apart from all of this other franchise bullshit, like a big part of me just loved Peacemaker so much. I was like, I kind of just wanted you to do more seasons of that, like you clearly can do TV too. Like I that's all I wanted. I'm not really I was not excited when he was announced as Superman, and it's nothing against him, but him being the Superman director next was like not something that was like that's what I want to see. I will
Well,
be
I've been
interested
saying
now,
for
but
years, we just need to turn superhero movies into TV shows. I've been
yeah,
saying that for years. You know this. Just turn everything into TV shows. And if you have to have some big world ending, then that's your movie.
yeah, or just have it be the season finale because that's how TV used to work. You know, it's like you could just do that. You can like I think that's what everyone who's like kind of criticizing Marvel for like their story changes post Endgame, whatever. And it's like maybe it was always kind of bad. But like their big criticism is like, well, I don't know where the narrative's going. It's like, well, it wasn't going anywhere before. They're just like, we're doing that movie down the line. Like at the end of the day, that's all they said. They're doing the Infinity Saga movie, turned into two movies, but they did it. And everything else was constantly in flux. You go back and look at like how many post-credit scenes either lead nowhere or characters just come and go as they please, or like maybe audiences or critics didn't like one aspect of it so much, so that's gone out of the movies, and the next time, like there's never a real sense of integrity to the overall plan. Individual movies tried to have integrity, and there's plenty of them that I will still go to bat for as quality films. But it's not something that movies can do because movie productions don't work that way. TV does. What you really want is television. So I'm encouraging Noah's plan to make
This is
Blue
how we
Beetle a TV show.
this is how we loop back to the Arrowverse. We just loop back. We're
Yeah,
back to the Arrowverse.
and the problem there was it all should have just been one show, and you got to call it like Justice League or something. I don't know.
They should. I would 100 have supported a Justice League show.
Yeah. I mean, it clearly works. The animated stuff works. I'm not one of those people who's saying just do what the animated stuff did. I think that's silly. I have the animated stuff. I don't want to see another version of it. That's that version. I want to see a new version of it. Otherwise, what the fuck am I doing here?
Like
getting
we're in a
older.
different medium for a reason. Show me what I can't see in something else.
Yeah, so maybe you do more street level guys in live action because fucking that Superman show costs money. It probably cost a fuck ton more if you got like 80 other supporting characters in there,
Well, I mean, that's why the Superman show, the cast is relatively small. But not only that, it's maybe like 8 to 12 episodes, I think. It's not
Yeah,
like the
see.
full 22, 23 standard.
Yeah,
That
and
is
then
slowly not even the standard anymore.
yeah, and I'm not a big 8 episode season guy. Like sometimes it works. Like I was fucking fist pumping when I heard, oh, Andor, we're doing 12 episodes. I'm like, fuck yeah. Like HBO seasons, that used to be their standard, like 12, 13 episodes, maybe even 10. But they're the ones that can pull it off. Everyone else is like, oh, it's more like you're watching a long movie. And like, fuck you. If I want to watch a movie, I'm gonna watch
I'll
a
watch a
goddamn movie.
movie.
Yeah, shut the fuck up. You don't know what you're doing with this company, all these
Could hit
people.
him.
I know. I'm just getting so angry at imaginary people right now, and I'm sorry. It's a slow
They're all
Sunday here.
robots. They're all robots.
Unfortunately, Bob Iger is a real person.
He's not. This is
No,
what Will Smith's iRobot was warning us against.
Will Smith was right.
He was Will
also
Smith
slap
was
Bob
right.
Iger.
That's what should have happened.
Yeah.
Somebody get on that fanfic. Somebody listening. I want to
Yeah. Someone draw that for me. Will Smith slapping Bob Iger. You and I will never work for Disney if you draw that, but I will share it. Whoever draws that for me. So I'm okay with that. Anyways, more Blue Beetle stuff. So because we're in spoiler territory, like it's full on now. His dad dying really caught me off guard.
It was crazy because it's funny because I feel like people have very different expectations, and that's either very little or none at all going to this film. So when I saw like people started bleeding and people getting shot, and I was just like, what's happening? And then his dad ends up on the ground, and I was like, that's why you motherfuckers mentioned a heart attack. It wasn't just to put them in a disparaging place in the world. It was to foreshadow him dying, you sons of bitches.
And it's the setup and payoff. It's like it's just classic writing. It's not again, it's not gonna change your life, but it's like, I don't know, we used to just make movies that was like, what's the cool concept? A guy gets a alien beetle suit attached to him.
He
What can
becomes
you
a
do with
Power
that?
Ranger.
Yeah, what's that gonna look like? I don't know. Well, he's gonna fly around. It'd probably be funny if he did this when he flew around for the first time. And it's just like, I feel like they did everything you possibly could with like the first outing for this character. You know what I mean? They didn't pull back for a potential sequel, you know, which is a very common problem with these types of movies. And I think that's why I really responded to it too. Like the dad, like they're not holding off like a family member dying later because I think it'll be more dramatic because you'll be more attached, which might be true. But if you're telling a story, you have to think like, what is my fucking beginning, middle, and end? Don't worry about later. You're not going to get the later if people don't like your first one. You're still not going to get the later, but that's irrelevant to the quality of this time. And they don't hold back. It's like, here's the problem. How do you solve it? You do this. Well, that's a problem because of X, Y, and Z. It's like, okay, well, and the movie keeps building like that. And I don't know. Again, it's just like a good movie. It's a normal, good movie that obviously people that look like you and I know respond to very well because it's very similar to our own families in a lot of ways. You know, like my abuelita does the nana thing where she's like, "Wait, mijo," and then it's the sign of the cross every time I leave the top of the forehead, the mouth, the chest. Like it's so familiar. That just happened to me like 3 days ago. You know, like
Yeah, like you could identify certain members of their family with people that you know.
yeah.
And that's just something I can't remember the last time I've seen something like that. That just is really refreshing. And it's not like necessary, but it's very nice to see. And there's something I've been wanting to talk about for a long time, but I'm glad we're here and we can talk about it. George Lopez just kills him, man. He impales him.
Oh yeah, no, he
Impales
kills
him
the
with
guy.
he straight up kills him, man. I was the only one who was like I went to shout out Gene and an organization he works with. They got me a screening, and like this theater was silent because people were enjoying it. But I just started laughing when George Lopez killed someone with like the Beetle bus or whatever the fuck it's called, and it just like a pincer just impales someone. Like you see them die, and I was like, George Lopez.
No, I greatly admire that they kill motherfuckers in this. Blue Beetle's like, I think, again, this is maybe something that could have been expounded upon more, but it's something I know I've been saying and thinking about for a long time where it's like, well, if you're a superhero, you're now in that position of power. Like you have power over everyone in your immediate vicinity. I think you do not get to be judge, jury, and executioner. If you take it seriously, right? You take the rules of that world seriously. I think if you're a Superman, a Blue Beetle, a Spider-Man, even a Batman, like to me, I think that's an ethical boundary that lessens the superhero identity. Then you're in Punisher territory, which is a different conversation. Superhero stuff that I think I stand by my feelings on that. However, the family is not superheroes.
They are not.
They're
grandma
fighting,
kills several
they
people.
are fighting a private military organization. And so the grandma kills like 50 people with a giant alien machine gun.
I fucking loved that.
And that was
so
pretty
much.
great. There's a film critic I really like named Mark Kermode. He used to work for the BBC. Now he does his own thing. Other fucking nerds like me know Kermode and Mayo. They're a fantastic radio duo. He really liked this movie too, and he was caught off guard because he doesn't give a shit about this stuff, right? But it was the family stuff that he really responded to, and he, like me, had thought of Spy Kids when he was watching it. When he was saying Spy Kids, like he's pro Rodriguez, he's not lumping in all Latino stuff. Like I think I get what he's getting at too. Is like it's the vibe of it, the family adventure of it. You know, this is a little heavier hitting. Like if you got maybe young ones who are very close with their fathers, maybe wait
maybe not
till they're like
maybe
8 or 9.
Take them out to the restroom, and then when you see that vision sequence, you can just be like, "Oh, his dad's in the hospital."
Don't lie to them. I'm just
lie to your children. I'm advocating lying to you.
But he brought that up, and for me, I think I've spoken about it a couple times before. But Spy Kids is such an influential movie. It's one of my favorite movies. I really do love that movie still. But when I was younger, that was my first. Oh, that's like us. You know, even though the parents are not played by Mexicans, it's still, you know, the movie gets the point across. So I'm like, oh shit, you know, like that was a big deal for me. This is probably a big deal to the kids that eventually watch it on cable or Netflix or HBO Max or whatever, because not many of them are gonna watch it in a theater probably.
The showing I went to had lots of families, lots of kids, and they seemed really into it.
The one I went to yesterday. was also pretty full. Not packed, not a packed house, but not a full house, but there was a sizable audience. Now it was AMC Burbank 16, and that's generally pretty full always anyways. That's sort of like in the hub of the movie nerd world. So maybe that's why. But you know, people have seen the screenshots of like, yeah, this is like no one's like bought a ticket to this one showing. And it's like, oof. But the point being, I hope people respond to this movie who need to respond to it. You know, regardless of all that. I could hate this movie, and I hope that happens. You know?
I hope it'll do well in streaming.
Yeah. I'm willing to bet this has like legs, at least like a long lifespan.
It's gonna run very far. Yeah, I don't know why I'm literally just re-saying what you just said. It has legs. You're right.
It's running very far. That's the Flash, Noah. The character, not the movie. The movie didn't do that. The movie dropped fucking dead immediately.
I gotta do my Ezra Miller run.
Don't do that. Don't
Oh
like.
My God.
Don't parody a criminal.
Shout out the homie Jake because he really wanted to see it, and I did it, and he bought me a ticket just so I would see it with him. And then I spent the first 20 minutes waiting for chicken fingers for him. And so that's how I got out of the first 20 minutes of The Flash.
Oh, okay. You couldn't have gotten out of the other 120?
No, that's when the chicken, we were waiting for I was waiting.
All right, well. Yeah, I'm never watching that movie. I just want everyone to know that. I have no interest in that. Other people have mentioned like, oh, just get drunk and like watch it. And I'm like, well, I could get drunk and watch a movie I like also.
Yeah, I want to if I'm going to get drunk and watch a movie, I want it to be a movie I know I'm going to like.
Yeah, you know, like
something enjoyable.
I'll get drunk and watch the Meg 2 again. I really like the Meg 2. I think people were fucking harping on that for, I don't know why. I think people just forgot what schlock is, but I don't know.
So that's what I'm saying. The dichotomy. It's either golden or it's trash. People can't enjoy like a fun middle anymore.
Yeah, you know, I fucking Jason Statham harpoons a shark with an explosive spear. Like what? I don't know. I don't know what the fuck you people want anymore. No one knows what they want. Movies are dead. Hollywood's dying. Barbie was really good though. And this is fucking just I'm just pulling shit out of my ass now as we wind down. I saw Passages, the Ira Sachs movie. It's French. It's really great. It's maybe my favorite movie of the year so far. For all the people that are trying to combat like puritanical tweets out there. I don't know how big of a movement that genuinely is, but it always comes up online, so I might as well mention it. Everyone should watch Passages. That would break their brains. That's all I'll say. It's great. Everyone go watch it.
And I will say everyone should go watch The Blackening on Netflix because that was really fucking funny. It's a horror comedy and it's really good. So that's what I recently watched. If we're just suggesting things we watched recently.
Yeah, we'll just do that. We'll just do that.
And watch Stargirl.
Okay, sure. Maybe. I'll watch it eventually. I will watch it eventually.
If you watch Stargirl, I'll watch something that you want me to watch.
You were supposed to watch something for a while. I don't remember what it was now.
You know what? You text me and you remind me.
Okay, I'll remember. I mean, we can keep going on Blue Beetle, but I think we're kind of just gonna start repeating the same stuff. We liked it.
Go watch it.
Go watch it if you don't hate superhero stuff with every fiber of your being at this point. Like I was like, really, if you do, don't watch it. That's fine. It's okay.
If you want to see George Lopez impale a man, go watch Blue Beetle.
Yeah, he's fun. Oh, I guess the last note for me was again the action by JJ Perry.
Last notes, baby.
Last action by JJ Perry was really great. Wonderful use of like wide angle lenses and the close-ups with like the kick in and like a lot of physical punchy stuff, which I think is why I liked it a lot too. Like every once in a while it kind of gets into like they're just shooting lasers at each other, and every time that happens, like my brain just starts checking out at this point. And it's not even this movie's fault, it's a systemic issue that my brain responds to now. And everyone knows that this movie was quote unquote filmed for IMAX, not shot for IMAX. I've not seen that anywhere. So
now what is the difference?
I think they're being specific and not saying shot for IMAX or shot in IMAX specifically because it wasn't shot on like an IMAX camera. So when they made the leap from straight to streaming to theatrical release, that change occurred in the pre-production stage. the film was not made with that in mind. So, and I think you can kind of tell with the budget increase where that money went, and I think it all went to the right places generally. There's a couple like flashy special effects stuff towards the back half that's really like, even the very emotional scene with his dad's last scene, where he's like, I'll always be with you and stuff. I'm crying just saying it again. Like, apart from the close-ups on them, it's not the best looking part of the movie. It's good enough. Like I'm trying not to softball it. Like it gets the job done. It's not the point of the scene. The point of the scene is about the characters talking in this weird space. So it works. But I do think had they actually like allotted time and money for a big theatrical presentation, like I think this director could do it. What's his name? I'm gonna find it. Angel Manuel Soto. He could do it. He's good. He's a good director. I like this guy. I'm gonna keep an eye on him. I think you can kind of tell, like, I'm pretty sure when they go to IMAX showings for this, because I didn't see it in IMAX, I saw it in Dolby, which is, sometimes even better than IMAX, frankly. But for IMAX, the aspect ratio is like 1.91, right? Which is taller than the traditional scope, which is what people refer to like as quote unquote cinematic, even though that's another conversation. So I think they just did it for like to kind of try to make more money off IMAX. I don't think they really utilized any of the presentation or the cameras or any of that, which is like fine. And I'm not like angry about it. I'm sure it's just the marketing guy was like, everyone's fucking writing dick for Oppenheimer, and that's IMAX all the way, baby. So let's get another one in there. Let's do it. Let's ride this IMAX train till the coattails fall off. And it's like, well, no one really saw it in IMAX anyways. So
they took the film file and they put it in Adobe Premiere and they just switched the settings. They're like, okay, we're gonna put it for IMAX. We're gonna put it. And they just exported it.
And now also everyone's mad at them for quote unquote taking screens from Oppenheimer, which is like
Oppenheimer's
funny.
Fine.
Oppenheimer might make $1 billion. At the very least, it's gonna end up at 900 million. They'll be fine.
Let the brown people take screens from white people.
Yeah, it's just a little harder for me to champion that because it's like, because it's not making money. It kind of is just like wasting time for an IMAX screens. Like it's not. Again, I'm pro this movie. And again, that's not anyone who actually worked on the movie's fault. It is fucking clearly just WB being like, let's pump these numbers up, baby, and it just backfired on them, much like the release of The Flash did.
Because it's very clear that a lot of the people that were involved in this whole process seem to really care about it. And a lot of people seem to have a lot of passion, a lot of fun. Like I've watched some behind the scenes stuff. It looks like they were just having fun doing this. And I can really appreciate when people are really passionate about a project, when like in comparison, you look to The Flash, where it feels like everyone's there for a paycheck or to avoid scandals or to who knows what.
Yeah. What's Ezra Miller up to? I don't know. Call your local authorities.
Yeah, he should probably be arrested.
Yeah.
But if we're getting to like last notes about the film.
Yeah, we should wrap up.
I think I do want to talk. Oh, I thought you said last notes. That's why I said last notes.
No, yeah.
Okay. I think the one thing I'm very conflicted about on this movie is simply the villain, not Victoria, but the other guy, simply because there's very little to him, but at the same time there doesn't need to be. He serves a certain role in the film, and while there's like moments to empathize with him, it's not. I'm just like, do we really need those, or is it just? And I had to like really think about whether or not I like him or not. And I like the idea because this movie, like I said, like blatant storytelling. This movie like explicitly calls out colonialism and capitalism. I think there's an interesting interpretation where white colonizers will often have people of color engage in combat and fighting against each other. Because at the end of the day, that character, that guy was manipulated by Victoria Cord. He was used and abused by her. And then it was just two brown people fighting each other. A lot of it staged by a white capitalist. I think that's interesting about how people in power will often get minorities to fight one another, both thinking that they're in the right when really the root of their problem is said manipulator. So I think that's I don't know if that was intentional on the film, but I think that's an interesting thing to think about,
I think it's totally intentional. I think you're absolutely right. I mean, even the other characters, Harvey Guillen, that's the actor's name,
I'll
the
look it up.
scientist.
Yeah. Oh, shout
yeah,
out
yeah.
to the man.
Yeah, shout out to the guy who reclaims his name, but unfortunately, I only remember his insulting name. That's
Yeah.
on me at this point.
Dr. Harvey Gillian, yeah.
Harvey Guillen, yeah, Doctor, not Sanchez. It's not. That was the point of the character. He's reclaiming his name. But yeah, like even stuff like that, like it's very clearly like trying to be like an upstanding moment, like standing up against like the insulting like racism by his boss.
Well, there was a lot of casual racism and like blatant racism in this film too.
Yeah, and I think it threads that needle very appropriately, or it's like there's different ways to insult non-white people, specifically Latinos and Mexican families and such. And the movie does a really good job of basically like addressing all that. And so to your point about the henchman, what's his name, Carapax or something like that, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to look it up right now.
Yeah, he looks and sounds like Megatron, which I really responded to. But I do think that to go back to the superhero no killing thing, at the end of the day, it's these are people, and it treated all these characters as people with their own wants and needs, maybe minus Jaime sometimes at the start, where I'm like, I'm not exactly sure what your deal is. But the movie
very
works
reactionary.
Anyways. Yeah, reactionary. I don't know what he wants, which is many people know a problem I have with another young adult superhero franchise at the moment. But yeah, like all these people are just people. So when he finally has to confront this, the henchman again, he finally gets the upper hand on him. He can't kill him. The Scarab, voiced by Becky G, by the way, I guess.
Yeah.
Stops him because he's imbued that into the Scarab. So now it's this fully symbiotic relationship. They are one and the same. And he's forced to see that the person he's fighting against was also a victim. They're a victim of their circumstance and their life and stuff like that. And so he's not the person who's like, there's arguments about like, look, some supervillains in comics, like the Joker or something, like maybe we should just get to the point where you just shoot him in the head and you're like, yeah, I didn't find him. I don't know where he went. Or throw him in a concrete hole somewhere and you're just like, yeah, I guess he just fell.
Yeah, slipped on a banana.
Yeah, slipped on a banana and swallowed a nuclear bomb. But yeah, like with characters like this, I think it's appropriate to be like, no, this is also a victim of other circumstances that are out of your control, but you have control in how you're going to deal with them now. And to the other side of that, though, I do like that early on he's like, I'm not going to kill this guy, and he backs down, and the guy still tries to kill him. Like I think that was actually a good call, because now he has more of a reason to lash out in anger. Also, this guy is responsible for his father's death, so I don't know, it's not like a clean cut simple story either. There's a lot of emotional stuff there that I'm fucking going on over an hour talking about now. I hope I'm not keeping you too long. We can wrap up now.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
If there's any other notes I can really think of, is that I will say that it is clear his intent is just to provide for his family, but there's not much else outside of that. I feel like he does have that, but I get what you mean. And secondly, this is a nitpick, but I enjoy a Young Justice when the Scarab's voice mimicked Jaime's, but was like a bit more gruffer. But instead of like in this movie where we get like a Siri type voice, I guess that's just like jarring to me because of the age of AI. So I wish I could have had something like Young Justice where it was like his voice, but something, you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. I think I just figured out why they didn't do that. The Venom movies do that.
Is it just him?
That's Tom Hardy.
Oh.
And I bet they're like, well, we don't want people to think we're copying Venom. I promise you, no one gives a shit.
I don't.
No one gives a fuck.
Yeah, no one cares. Everyone copies everyone. Nothing's original. Only your interpretation is original, bitch.
Yeah, that was good.
Can I curse on this show?
You can say whatever the fuck you'd like, so long as you're not being offensive. Okay. And I mean genuine offense. Okay. Like, yeah, don't.
Victoria Cord is a colonizer. I'm glad she's dead.
She is. No, I'm glad she's dead. Shout out to Susan Sarandon of Speed Racer fame. Speed Racer is incredible. Go watch her in that. Maybe structurally that's a little similar of a movie. I don't know.
Go watch her in Thelma and Louise and Tammy.
Oh, Thelma and
Watch
Louise is a
Tammy.
masterpiece. I'm not even joking. That's a great movie.
I mean, it's iconic.
Yeah. Fucking I gotta next time I'm driving around with someone in the passenger seat, I'm gonna grab their hand and then I'm just gonna drive off a cliff in solidarity with Thelma and Louise.
And that's because we respect women.
That's exactly why, yes.
That's why.
Yeah, and because Susan Sarandon's still fine as fuck. All right. That was Blue Beetle, everyone.
That was Blue Beetle.
It was good. You should watch it if you're interested. If you're not, I promise you're probably not going to change your mind. That's fine.
And if you like Blue Beetle, go check out Blue Beetle Graduation Day in comic book stores, Target, Barnes and Noble, available digitally everywhere.
Is that a real thing?
Yeah, they have Blue Beetle comics in Target now. So
no, I mean Blue Beetle. Blue Beetle. I don't know what that was.
Blue Beetle Graduation Day. It's a 6-issue miniseries that started 2021, ended a couple months ago, I think. I don't know. It's 6 issues. It's a little miniseries. It has a lot of stuff to do with the Reach. So if you like the Reach, it's a lot of Reach stuff. But yeah, I'm just promoting the comics. You gotta.
All right, yeah, comics. What a great industry. There's no problems there. Not like in the movies. Anyways, yeah, no, thanks for joining me today. Where can people find you online?
Well, online, you can follow me at Noah is Garcia on TikTok, Instagram, Threads, and Twitter/X.
Just say Twitter. We don't say X on this podcast. Don't fucking insult me.
I just wanted a reaction.
No,
if you want to follow my photography
all the time.
If you want to follow my photography works, you can check out Noah Garcia _photography on Instagram. Yeah,
you take amazing photos. They're very upsetting because I can't keep up
you
with
upset me. I can't keep up with you. I ruined a whole film reel, so don't even talk to me about it right now.
Oh yeah, what happened with that? Can I ask about that?
Oh my gosh.
Because I think we were both a little lost in the sauce separately, and then you had just texted me randomly. I'm still bummed on my camera.
Just me touching someone. And you're like, what's happening?
Yeah, I was like, what is this video you're sending? And
okay.
I didn't know. I was like, did I forget what happened? I don't know.
Okay, audience, imagine a film roll is like a tape measure. And instead of putting the tape measure back into its capsule, you accidentally rip the whole fucking thing out. And now I'm going to cry. That's my life.
Okay, so the whole roll
it's on the opposite side.
Oh, you wound it up too much. Oh, you can fix that. I don't know. You exposed
I have no idea.
Though?
I opened it and I think some of it is exposed.
Okay, where did you open inside?
I was inside. It was like a dark party, so I don't know.
You might be able to salvage some of that.
I'm gonna take it to that. I'm gonna take it to the guy. We're gonna talk about it.
That's
a whole other story. That's all.
No. I'll tell you right now. This is important information for camera people everywhere.
Okay.
So if that ever happens, you
cry.
You wind up the roll too much that it leaves the film leaves the roll and it wraps around the inner camera mechanism for pulling the film strip out. You're not going to know that happened until you open it. Close it immediately. Not like don't even think about it for more than a millisecond. Just reaction. Close it. Give the camera to your developer. Right. You got to go to them in person. You can't mail this now. Just tell them what happened because that did happen before. I didn't get my roll, but that was a whole other thing. It was like my first film roll ever, and I fucked up my camera. But they'll go to the dark room and they'll strip it out from there. And then they'll give you back the camera if there's no like other mechanisms like fucked up in your camera. Like I don't see why they wouldn't be able to just do that. So Vans Photo and Whittier, by the way, that's where we go to develop our stuff, at least our color negative stuff. Good stuff. They have stuff done in like an hour or two sometimes, which is really great. Yeah. Go support Vans Photos and Blue Beetle. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye. Watch Ahsoka.
I don't know if you should do that. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We've been professionally unprofessional. Bye.
Bye.